The sun was setting over Manila, its golden light reflecting on the busy streets where jeepneys honked and vendors shouted, selling their roasted peanuts and sweet teo. Among the crowd, a 15-year-old boy named Juan de la Cruz pushed a small wooden cart filled with empty bottles and scrap metal. His slippers were worn thin, his shirt torn at the edges, but his spirit carried him forward. For Juan, every peso he earned meant rice on the table for his widowed mother and his two little sisters, waiting in their cramped shanty by the Pig River. Life had never been kind, but he had learned early that hardship could not break a determined heart. When his long day of scavenging ended, one would not rest like most kids his age. Instead, he would pull out his most precious possession, a second-hand keyboard with chipped keys, a gift from a church volunteer who had seen his love for music. The keyboard was far from perfect. Sometimes one key would stick, another would sound dull. But when one sat by the riverbank and placed his fingers on it, music filled the air in a way that made people stop and listen. His melodies were soft yet powerful, telling stories that words could not. Children would gather, vendors would pause, and even tired workers would smile as they passed. For one, music was not just sound. It was hope, the only escape from the weight of poverty. One evening, as he played a piece he had composed himself, a tourist from Cebu stopped and began recording. The melody was raw but beautiful, carrying emotions that touched everyone nearby. The tourist uploaded the video thinking little of it, but the internet had its own plans. Within days, the video of a barefoot boy by the Pig River playing his broken keyboard went viral. People across the Philippines and beyond were moved, some calling him the boy with the golden fingers. His story spread on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, gathering millions of views. For the first time, one felt that the world was listening. Not long after, an email arrived that would change everything. A talent scout, inspired by the viral video, reached out with an invitation for Juan to audition for America's Got Talent. At first, he thought it was a cruel joke. How could a poor boy from Manila ever stand on such a grand stage? But when the details were confirmed, his mother hugged him tightly, tears falling as she whispered, "Anak, this is your chance. God has opened a door for you." Juan looked at his sisters, who stared at him with wide, hopeful eyes and promised silently that he would make them proud. That night, as the city lights shimmered across the river, Juan closed his eyes and played his keyboard with a new energy. His music, once only a secret between him and the streets of Manila, was now preparing to cross oceans. Deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning of something extraordinary. The grand stage of America's Got Talent in Los Angeles sparkled with lights that one had never imagined in his wildest dreams. The arena was filled with thousands of people, cameras whirring, and the buzz of excitement that made the air electric for a boy who had grown up playing music on the streets of Manila. This felt like stepping into another world. He clutched his old keyboard tightly, the same one that had carried him through countless nights by the Pig River, and his heart pounded in his chest. His mother, wearing her simple yet elegant barosai, squeezed his hand and whispered into Tagalog, "And play with your heart. This is your moment." As his name was announced, one took a deep breath and walked out onto the stage. The audience fell silent, curious to see this young boy with wide eyes and a nervous smile. The judges sat before him, Simon Cowell with his usual sharp gaze, Sofia Vergara glowing with her warm smile, Heidi Klum elegant and welcoming, and Howie Mandel leaning forward with interest. Simon, in his classic no-nonsense tone, asked, "Tell us about yourself." Juan's voice trembled slightly as he replied, "My name is Juan. I come from Manila, Philippines. I grew up playing music on the streets, and this is my first time outside my country." His humility drew an audible from the audience. Simon nodded, gesturing for him to begin. Juan sat at his keyboard, closed his eyes for a brief moment, and let his fingers fall onto the keys. What came out was not just music, but a story, a journey told through notes instead of words. His composition carried the weight of his struggles, nights spent hungry, mornings scavenging for scraps and the light of his dreams, the love for his mother and the laughter of his little sisters. Each note resonated with raw emotion, filling the massive arena with something pure and undeniable. The crowd, which had moments ago been noisy, was now silent, captured completely by the sound of a boy who had once been ignored by the world. Sofia Vergara wiped a tear from her eye, whispering softly to Heidi, "This is beautiful." Heidi clasped her hands to her chest, moved by the sincerity flowing from the music. Howie nodded slowly, visibly impressed. Even Simon, known for his stern and critical nature, leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the boy, as if he too could feel every ounce of pain and hope flowing from the keys. When the last note echoed and faded, there was a moment of stillness before the entire audience leapt to their feet. The cheers were deafening, claps and whistles filling the hall. Juan's hand shook as he lifted them from the keyboard. Overwhelmed by the response, he covered his face, fighting back tears while the audience continued to applaud and shout his name. His mother, standing backstage, had tears streaming down her cheeks, her heart swelling with pride. For one, this was no longer just an audition. It was a declaration to the world that even a boy from the streets of Manila with nothing but determination and a love for music could stand on the grandest stage and shine. The arena was still echoing with applause. When Simon leaned forward, his expression softer than anyone expected. The boy from Manila stood trembling on the stage, his hands pressed against his face as he tried to hold back the tears. Confetti hadn't yet fallen, but already it felt like a celebration. Simon cleared his throat and the room gradually quieted, every eye fixed on the man whose opinion could change lives. His voice, usually sharp and critical, was calm and warm as he said, "One, you are what this show is truly about. You came here not just with talent, but with heart, soul, and a story that inspires the world. You didn't just play the piano. You touched every single person here." The words echoed across the hall and the audience roared once again, some standing back up to clap even louder. Juan looked up, his eyes wide, hardly able to believe what he was hearing. He had grown up expecting harshness, judgment, even dismissal. Yet here he was on one of the biggest stages in the world, and Simon Cowell himself was praising him with words that felt like gold. Sofia Vergara leaned closer to her microphone and added, "Your music made me cry. It felt like you were telling us your story without saying a word. And that is the kind of gift that very few people in this world have." Heidi Klum smiled, her voice filled with admiration as she said, "I forgot I was in a talent show. I felt like I was at a concert. That's how beautiful this was." Howie Mandel nodded in agreement, saying, "You are the reason we do this show, to find someone the world needs to hear." As the judges shared their reactions, one's mother was backstage, her hands trembling as she clutched the rosary around her neck. Tears streamed down her face, but they were tears of pride and gratitude. She whispered softly in Tagalog, "Salamat pong Janun," thanking God for this moment she never thought she would live to see. Then, in the midst of the roaring applause, Simon looked at the golden buzzer in front of him. He paused for a second, his eyes fixed on one, and then with a sudden firm press he slammed it. The sound of the buzzer thundered across the arena, followed instantly by an explosion of golden confetti raining down from above. The audience screamed, clapping, shouting, cheering as the stage lit up brighter than ever. One fell to his knees, overcome with emotion. Covering his face as tears flowed freely. His mother ran onto the stage, and he collapsed into her arms, hugging her tightly as the golden rain continued to fall. The camera zoomed in on Simon, who for once was smiling widely. He looked at Juan and said, "Remember this moment, because it's just the beginning of your journey." The crowd chanted Juan's name, their voices echoing through the theater and beyond, into millions of homes around the world. Backstage, reporters and crew members were already buzzing, calling this one of the most moving auditions in the history of the show. That night, clips of Wu's golden buzzer audition spread across social media just like his first street performance had. But this time, it wasn't only the Philippines watching. It was the entire world. Headlines read, "From Manila streets to AGT golden buzzer," and messages of love and support poured in from every corner of the globe. For one, this was not just about winning a talent competition. It was proof that no matter where you come from, no matter how poor or broken your beginnings, dreams are never out of reach when you hold on to hope and never let go.